everybody, I am Aliera of Wayrest, the runaway queen, the arms dealer, the thief, uniter of Tamriel. You might also know me as Anjindra. They're both screen names. Ladies, protect yourself. Online is actually designed to be a safe place. We spent years doing that and creating a culture for that, where it is like perfectly socially acceptable for you to use a different name because it's just safer. So we are trying to find a Minotaur. Oh my god, the epicness of it all. We're trying to find a Minotaur because we said that we would cap him for some queen or another of Dragon's Rest, or Dragon's Grove. So, we're rolling. He is supposedly in the mountains to the west. I get hopelessly lost, so this is going to be all of the fun. But we're going through and finding him, and I had just entered the labyrinth on the last one, so I know where it is. And then apparently I forgot to save. I would have sworn that I did. I'm doing it on camera this time. It'll be a good reminder. Don't hang up until you save. I must have known I didn't do it because I posted one of my favorite gifs, which is the one where the guy is like crying. He's a very familiar actor, but I don't remember what movie he's from, and it looks like he's at a funeral and it says, when you forgot to save your game. It's just like, oh, I so know that. What is that? We have little, look, there's little people. Oh well, either way, so I haven't played this since way back in the day. It's been, I think, 25 years exactly since Daggerfall came out, and people kind of knew my name. At the time I was running around with quite a few kids. Well, I mean, I was only friends with one of them, but some of the kids from New York City and so on. And then I kind of settled back down. I'm from a smaller town and just did my thing. And I got into adventure gaming a whole lot more because that's what all my friends were into and so on. So I took a little hiatus. I was very young. I designed a logo for a company, did a couple different things, went to college, and then started beta testing again. So I decided to run, it's the columns, I think this is the building. I decided to, you know, run a channel. Everyone was into YouTubing. So I decided to run a channel and, you know, just basically show people the different beta tests that I do as I do them. Gaming culture is an incredible culture. We did start out very, you know, very male dominant, but we did work our way up. Women were gaming from the very beginning. That's the whole thing? Dude, that was awful. That makes me sad. Come on a walk with me again. You can learn about the culture. But Bethesda wasn't huge yet, and then it really took off. They had this incredibly innovative approach to gaming, and you'll see it in every single TES. So if you've played one, you know, like Morrowind was the open world theory, they took it beyond this, which was mostly signposts, and they made it so that you could have a house and store things in your house and actually have an active, you know, life in the game. So that was entirely new. It took, it went past Ultima 9 and all the other games that were doing that. Skyrim came out and they had mods, they had DLC, that was huge, and so on. So they were one of the last ones on the scene with online gaming. There was like ElfQuest, there was Ultima Online, there were a couple of different ones that we were kind of kicking around doing. World of Warcraft really exploded it. ESO came in a little bit late, and so I'm guessing it was by popular demand, because if somebody, you know, if they really do get a response from their fan base, Bethesda does listen to the culture. For instance, when Fallout 76, I think it was, came out, it was when Fortnite was huge. And Fortnite came out in beta, and the fans were beta testers. And so I think that Bethesda kind of looked back at the way things were and went, hey, you know, let's try that, because it was such a huge hit. It won the golden joysticks over, I think, Red Dead Redemption. So big with people, and they loved it. You know, they loved betaing it. They loved that each pack got released and they got to see the game get upgraded, and the fact that, you know, you experience this lower price point because of it, and we're actually a part of its development and so on. So Bethesda's all about that, and they went in and they did it, and it was like, for instance, A little bit arena where some people loved it and some people just didn't, you know, like some people really just hated the whole thing, where they were like, oh, why not this, why do the people look like cardboard cutouts, was one of the running jokes. My mom brought a picture of my dad instead of him to Christmas once because he didn't feel like going. It's a long drive to my grandparents' house. They were immigrants, so, or they emigrated. It's rude to call them immigrants. Okay, so we're gonna oh, let's see. What's it called? Labyrinth. That's what a minotaur lives in. Labyrinth. Okay. I actually had a friend, couple friends, but a friend in particular who had relatives in Hollywood. So it makes me laugh because stuff like Labyrinth or something, she would usually have something to say about someone. She knew her aunt lived out in LA and was in movies and whatnot, and so she would tell me stories about some of the old Hollywood celebs. Like, I'm trying to think of her favorite one, and I can picture the guy's face, but I'm kind of a little bit younger, so it was he was in Father of the Bride. Oh gosh, he was in like everything. He was the gray-haired guy. Anyways, you know, so she had like funny jokes about him and the rest of the Rat Pack and so on. So, like, I am just doing poorly at this. Maybe I should camp. I'll camp. So that was really cool, and it was kind of one of the things that, like, getting into like any culture, any part of America that was really booming kind of got me. Is everywhere I go. When I moved down south, that's when I met her. She was actually from New York City, and she had lived through 9/11. And, you know, she was an incredible person, but that was like really an experience for her. So, oh gosh, I do remember that about this game, and it was one of the reasons it got bashes. It was so easy to die until you leveled up. And that wasn't so strange. You went through that, the original Bard's Tales and whatnot, where you just expected to die a lot. I actually joke around, you know, that you should, hold on one second. That you should save a whole lot, because just DOS is not forgiving. DOS games were not forgiving games. You would just absolutely die all the time. And they eventually worked that out of it. I remember my brothers gave advice for, oh gosh, names. Having a day here. I keep dying. Steve Martin, that was the guy's name. But the Space Blaster, or whatever it was, the one that Bethesda came out with where you were a fighter pilot, my brothers let them know, hey, you know, there's not enough power-ups, and we die way too fast, and that was a common complaint. So, you know, having people playing as you went was really, really awesome for them. 25 gold pieces this time. There is the feature where it's a randomization, and they did that on purpose. It was kind of like gambling, and the beta testers at the time, you know, like I said, it was kind of a different genre in a way, the whole RPG, because you did expect to die, you did expect to, you know, have to replay a whole lot and level up and so on. That was not at all weird. So you can actually save, you know, right in front of, okay, if I can't kill a rat, I am in trouble. But you can actually save right in front of a treasure pile and just go and go and go as long as you want until you get something cool out of it. Oh, you're not going to give me anything. So, you know, I remember ebony weapons were huge, and I can't remember. The door noise is like the #1. I don't know if there's like something that you remember from a series. For me, it was the door noise, because you would hear that at like 3 in the morning and know that your dad was up if you just, like, you know, how you go in and out of sleep or something. Like, oh, Dad's playing, you know, TES again, although they didn't call it that then. But so where was I? Aside from hunting the Minotaur, I have a very interesting approach to dungeons where I don't even try to map them. So their map was a blessing. Let's try it here. Let's try saving and see where it gets us. Oops. Yeah, sure. We'll save over Slay Minotaur. Why not? Why not? Oh, it's just gold. If it's treasure or whatever, ooh, I can hear him. Oh, that's a troglodyte. Oh my gosh. That was I remember that came up too, that was a cute trope until it went off like 8,000 times. And you could click through it, so it wasn't the end of the world, but that was brought up, that maybe they should get rid of that. One of my, as far as I'm concerned, major contributions was about this flipping cursor, where I was like, it's not, you know, like, it's not what you think it is. You need to get rid of the cursor, and they did eventually do that. At the time, the designers thought that it was cool because it was different, and they were trying to distinguish themselves, and I very much get that. I absolutely understand wanting to have an art style that's your own, and so on, but it just wasn't... Flute, did you crash my computer? It kind of wasn't the thing to do. Oh, F11, I want to log this bug so bad. Okay, hold on. But, you know, in the long run, it just became functional because they did become famous and they did become big. And so they did, I swear to all that is holy. And they just kind of, Mass Effect is notorious for the thingamabob where you have a cutscene. You tend to have a very large cutscene before a very important fight. And you have to watch said cutscene approximately 5,000 times. In order to beat the scene. And we're just like, you people are sadists, you know, like, why would you put the world's biggest cutscene? So the fact that you could click through it definitely helped. So ooh, I keep glitching out, like, literally right here. I do go through and patch these together. So seriously, there we go. I do go through. I hit one with 90. Like, I was jamming. What's going on here? Camp for a while. There are enemies nearby. Of course there are, sweetheart. Why would there not be 3 kobolds? Or goblins. I think those are goblins. Grinding your way through a dungeon is no fun in these. Well, it's not no fun. I have plenty of fun. I do level up off camera and whatnot. I do try not to put you through too much of this. But if you were from... Like, if you're over 30... I'm not going to tell you how old I am. If you're over 30, this is actually pretty normal gameplay, and this is like hanging out and whatnot, because, can I rest up here? No. Okay. Ooh, can I heal myself? Hold on. I'm in Dragon Grove. Where is my... I think I had a healing potion. So let's try that. When in doubt, you know... plate helm, chain pauldron, buckler, broadsword, mace, mark, bracelet, potion of healing. Item can't be equipped. I need to use it. How do I use these again? There's a bracelet. This is my inventory, equipment, spellbook. I'm not a spellcaster. Oh, so I don't have to worry about spells at all. Well, fine then. How do I use? There we go. Potion of healing. Yay! Okay, so I'm not as stupid as I look. There are ways to do it. You would obviously stock up on healing potions and whatnot in Ultima. Like bags full of potions. Poor Dupre. He was basically a pack horse. That's the only reason we kept him around. You know, you just have 3 stone of potions because you need that to get through one of these dungeons. They did not play. So I heard a mooing, so I'm assuming I'm in the right place. If not, then I'm grinding. It's like whatever. If not, then we're looting and grinding. We're stocking up. Trying to remember what's what here, so bear with me. So nothing potable, nothing. Oh, I don't think you needed to get food. That was nice. You had to load yourself down with food in some of the Ultimas and whatnot. Huh, maybe this is not the Minotaur's lair. Is there, I'll have a map. So, we'll try to the right. That looks like an exit. To the right, to the east. Maybe this is why I can't, like, even so much as drive anywhere. To the right. North is in front of me. Oh, it's locked. That's not good. Is this one of the ones where you can bash down the door? I thought so. It really helps to have already played the game. So no shame. Look at a walkthrough first, you know, definitely. So I am very big fan of when in doubt walkthrough because I just like to keep things moving along. I think it's all kinds of silly to stress yourself out over a game. It affects your life, and games are really gamer culture in general. We are one of the few cultures in the world that places a premium on play. We have this incredible notion that you need to play a certain amount in order to rest and refresh yourself and be happy and be, be able to contribute to your workplace and your family and all of that. And it's extraordinarily important to us, and that's something we're really proud of, that, like, you do play. Like, it's a given. You don't have to feel like that's a vacation time or anything like that. 13 gold pieces. Oh, I was gonna say, wow. Like, are you kidding me? I beat level 10, dude. Alright, what do we got? Greaves now. Those are not greaves. Those are pants. What am I gonna do with these people? Oh well. Cuirass. Gauntlets. Okay, so we are stacked now. This is really what we needed. My dad was so funny. He was like... He was a lapsed Catholic. He was a acting drill sergeant when he got drafted in the Army. Just through boot camp and whatnot. So he had a very precise idea of reality. Like, he definitely knew who he was. And he was just hilarious how he would handle things. So when he, when he first got into this and whatnot, and then especially when the newer ones came out, he would, like, show me his characters' outfits, and I would call them outfits, just to keep him, on the level. But he would show me his characters' outfits and, like, all the cool things that they did and everything like that. And he even did it all the way up through, like, Lord of the Rings online and everything. It was a very big deal to him. So Akatosh is actually a handle. It's also known as AKA the Old Smog himself. There was this running joke about threads and how they stacked them in the original forums. It was a little bit like Facebook, where you would have one thread on top of another thread, only they didn't nest them at all. So, when you got the latest email alert that something was going on, you would have something like 17 long. And if you didn't delete it by hand and then just quote the part that you were responding to, you would have every single part of the thread listed and relisted and relisted. So it was ridiculous. It was like an inverted pyramid. Hilarious. But so bad. So I'll tell you what, the door has something to fear for me, and that's all I have to say about that. So we did that with, there was all sorts of ways to mess around with it and so on. And what he did was his handle kept expanding. So he was Smog, and then he was Old Smog, and then he was the Old Smog after a couple months. And then he was the Old Smog himself, because he was aware of the fact that they were going to be credited in the game and so on, just as beta testers or whatever, but that was the coolest. So he didn't want to cause any problems. So he was the Old Smog himself, to denotate that it was a handle. And then he was, since they couldn't use it, he became also known as the Old Smog himself. And they were like, oh, let's do that, let's use Akatosh. And there were a couple, Marilyn was Mara and so on. Bandit, they changed his name around so that he could be in. And they made them into the gods. That was really awesome. It was like, oh, let us pray. It was like what they could do, because with startups, it takes a minute, like after that it moved in-house and so on. And, like Todd Howard probably doesn't even, remember me, because I was so tertiary to what he was doing. I was interested in art and design. So, like, I really only ever talked, and it was only a little bit, to his art team. We actually drove down to Bethesda, Maryland, and so on, and took a tour of the studios and etc. and talked a little bit about, the newest stuff in graphics. And I don't know if I can do this to a metal door. Can I? I think maybe? Nothing like bashing the door open, but, yeah, so at the time, they just gave them this part of an experience that was expanding. The DoD had opened up the internet for, obviously for military use, and then again for banking, it became big. And then gaming hit it, and it was just like, oh, and it's a little bit, not a lot, but it's a little bit of a take on that, because it has such a medieval aspect that people are, automatically thinking warfare. There's virtual simulations, they go hand in hand, where like we get some of the stuff that other people use and so on, in gaming. So it's a little bit like football or other sports, which in our culture represent warfare. without being warfare, which is why... Did you just fire? He just fireballed me. You'll see sports players, for instance, held to a higher standard, and people are like, why? And it's because that's the sandbox in reporting. You know, when reporters report on sports, they report on it in a similar way as they would report on warfare, obviously without so much of the sobriety, but in that same way where you're representing something, and they want people to understand that at a base level. They want, you know, they don't want to have to sit down and say, oh, okay, well, this is what war would be like, because we don't want that in our culture. But they want it understood at a gut level, because America is a military country. We have 52 subordinate states. One is Puerto Rico. They have a vote in the presidency. And so on. The rest are mostly military bases, and they pretty much rule themselves. We're not trying to be, you know... France is the same way. Like, we don't have a king or a queen. You know, we now have her Grace Margaret, Lady or Duchess Markle. It's hard to know exactly what her title is, because they were very specific, and I think after the understandings with the Duchess of... So hey, oh my gosh. Well, I lost my camera there, so there were like misunderstandings when one of the Middletons married up, so they were very specific this time so that America knew exactly what was going on, which was lovely of them. But that turned out to be a keep. I did not realize I lost my camera right about there, but there were only a couple rooms left, so it was not where the Minotaur was, so we'll have to continue exploring. But I am Aliera of Wayrest. My dad passed away recently. He was Akatosh, the god of time, so I decided to play through all the games, and I was going to do it anyways. I know so much about the culture and what went on, and so many cool people that since I love hearing that, and I have such interesting people in my life, and one of my favorite things is to hear their stories, I wanted to bring you along. So drop us a like and subscribe, find out everything there is to know about gaming. Check around the channel. I still do beta tests. You can see stuff that hit the cutting room floor that is in process, new releases. We do retro. We do sale items or whatever, you know, the stuff that's like perpetually on sale that for some reason is discounted. We found a True Blood video game, stuff like that. So check it out, and drop us a like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and as always, much love.